Jinho was walking along the rocky shore of Jeju Island early in the morning. The sun was just coming up, painting the sky pink and orange. He loved these quiet moments before starting his marine research work. The ocean waves crashed against the black volcanic rocks, creating a peaceful sound that helped him think. As he stepped carefully between the tide pools, something caught his eye. There, tucked between two large rocks, was a small animal that didn't look like anything he had ever seen before. The creature was about the size of a house cat, but had the features of a fox. What made Jinho stop and stare was its beautiful silver fur that seemed to shimmer in the morning light. The animal was breathing heavily and had a small cut on its front leg. Blood stained the silver fur around the wound. Jinho approached slowly, not wanting to scare the injured creature. Most wild animals would run away or try to bite when humans got close. But this one did something unexpected. The animal looked directly at Jinho with the most stunning golden eyes he had ever seen. These weren't the simple, instinct-driven eyes of a regular animal. There was something deeper there, something that seemed almost human-like in its awareness. The creature tilted its head slightly, as if it was studying Jinho just as much as he was studying it. Jinho had been working with marine animals for over 10 years. He knew how to read animal behavior, and something about this creature felt completely different. It wasn't showing fear or aggression. Instead, it seemed to be waiting, watching, almost as if it was making a decision about whether to trust him. He knelt down slowly and extended his hand. The animal sniffed his fingers gently, then did something that made Jinho's heart skip a beat. It placed its small paw on his hand, almost like a handshake. The gesture was so deliberate, so purposeful, that Jinho felt a chill run down his spine. Without thinking twice, Jinho carefully picked up the wounded animal. It didn't struggle or try to escape. Instead, it settled into his arms as if it understood he was trying to help. The creature was surprisingly light, and its fur was incredibly soft to the touch. Jinho carried the animal back to his small research station near the beach. The building was simple but well-equipped with everything he needed for his marine biology work. He set up a comfortable bed using old towels and gently placed the creature down. As he cleaned the wound on its leg, Jinho noticed how the animal watched his every move. It never tried to bite or scratch, even when the cleaning solution must have stung. Instead, it seemed to understand that Jinho was helping it heal. The injury wasn't too serious, just a shallow cut that would heal with proper care. But as Jinho bandaged the wound, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary animal. The way it looked at him, the way it seemed to understand human actions, everything about it felt special. That night, Jinho decided to name the creature Byul, that which means star in Korean. The name felt perfect because of how her silver fur seemed to sparkle like starlight. As he watched Byul rest peacefully on her makeshift bed, Jinho had no idea that this simple act of kindness would soon change everything he thought he knew about life on Earth. Over the next few days, Jinho noticed that Byul was healing much, faster than any animal should. The cut on her leg was almost completely gone after just 2 days, leaving barely a mark. But that wasn't the strangest thing about his new companion. On the 3rd morning, Jinho woke up to find Byul standing by the window, staring intensely at the clear blue sky. Her golden eyes seemed worried, and she kept making soft, whimpering sounds. Jinho looked outside but saw nothing unusual. The weather forecast had called for sunny skies all week, but Byul wouldn't calm down. She paced back and forth constantly, looking toward the horizon. Then she did something that made Jinho's jaw drop. She walked over to his weather equipment and gently touched the barometric pressure gauge with her paw. The reading showed normal pressure, but Byul kept tapping, it as if she was trying to tell him something. 3 hours later, dark clouds rolled in from nowhere. The sunny day turned into a fierce storm with heavy rain and strong winds. Jinho watched in amazement as Byul finally relaxed, curling up peacefully as the rain pounded against the windows. She had somehow known the storm was coming hours before any of his scientific equipment detected it. The next strange incident happened when Jinho was working on his computer, analyzing data from his underwater cameras. Byul was lying nearby, seemingly sleeping. But when Jinho's satellite internet connection started acting up, Byul's ears perked up immediately. She walked over to the router and began making distressed sounds. Jin-ho thought it was just a coincidence, until he noticed a pattern. Every time he received satellite communications, whether it was internet data, GPS signals, or even his emergency radio, Byul would become agitated. She would pace around the room. Her fur would stand on end and she would make worried whining sounds. One evening, Jin-ho was testing his underwater drone controls when something incredible happened. He was having trouble getting the drone to respond to his commands. Frustrated, he was about to give up when Byul jumped onto his desk. She looked at the control screen for a moment, then gently pressed her paw on one of the buttons. The drone immediately responded perfectly. Jin-ho stared in shock as Byul pressed another button, and the drone's camera turned exactly where he needed it to go. It was as if she understood the technology better than he did. When Jin-ho tried to operate the controls himself, the drone went back to being unresponsive. But whenever Byul touched the controls, everything worked smoothly. The most unsettling discovery came during the full moon. Jin-ho woke up in the middle of the night to find Byul sitting by the window, staring at the bright moon with what looked like sadness in her golden eyes. She was making soft musical sounds that were unlike anything Jin-ho had ever heard from an animal. The sounds were almost like singing, with a melody that seemed to carry emotions. Jin-ho felt a strange pull in his chest listening to it, as if the song was speaking directly to his heart. When clouds covered the moon, Byul would stop singing and look distressed again. Jin-ho began keeping detailed notes about Byul's behavior. She could predict weather changes days in advance. She understood complex technology. She reacted to satellite signals as if she could hear them. And during certain lunar phases, she seemed to be trying to communicate with something far away. After 2 weeks of observing these impossible abilities, Jin-ho finally admitted to himself what he had been trying to deny. Byul wasn't just an unusual animal. She was something else entirely, something that challenged everything he thought he knew about life on Earth. Jin-ho was feeding Byul her morning fish when he heard the sound of multiple vehicles approaching his research station. Through the window, he saw 3 black SUVs pulling up outside. Men in dark suits and military uniforms stepped out, their faces serious and determined. A knock came at the door, firm and demanding. Jin-ho's heart started racing as he opened it, to find a stern-looking man in a colonel's uniform standing there with several soldiers behind him. "Dr. Jin-ho, I'm Colonel Park from the Ministry of Defense," the man said, showing his identification. "We're here about the unusual animal you've been harboring. We need you to hand it over immediately for national security reasons." Jin-ho tried to stay calm. "I don't know what you're talking about. I just have a pet that I found injured on the beach." Colonel Park's eyes narrowed. "Don't play games with us, Doctor. We've been monitoring unusual electromagnetic signatures coming from this location for the past 2 weeks. Our satellites have detected energy patterns that don't match any known Earth technology." Behind Jin-ho, Byul had quietly moved to a position where she could see the visitors. Her golden eyes were alert and focused, and Jin-ho noticed her body language had changed completely. She looked tense, ready to move at any moment. "The creature you found is not from this planet," Colonel Park continued. "It poses a potential threat to national security. We have orders to take it to a secure facility for study." Jin-ho felt his blood run cold. "You can't just take her. She's not dangerous. She's been living peacefully with me." "That's not your decision to make," one of the soldiers said, stepping forward. "Stand aside, Doctor." But as the soldiers moved toward the door, something strange happened. Byul suddenly darted to the back window and started making urgent sounds toward Jin-ho. She was looking in a specific direction toward the mountains, then back at him, as if she was trying to tell him something important. Jin-ho had learned to trust Byul's instincts over the past weeks. Without fully understanding why, he grabbed his backpack and some supplies. "I'm sorry, but I can't let you." "Take her," he said to Colonel Park. The colonel laughed. "You don't have a choice in this matter." But Byul had already slipped out through a window that Jin-ho didn't even realize was open. She appeared outside and started running toward a trail that led into the mountains. Jin-ho knew the area well from his research work and realized she was heading toward paths that would be difficult for vehicles to follow. "Stop them," Colonel Park shouted, but Jin-ho was already running after Byul. The soldiers tried to follow, but something incredible happened. Every time they thought they had Jin-Ho and Buell cornered, the pair would change direction at exactly the right moment to avoid capture. It was as if Buell could sense where the soldiers would be before they even decided where to go. They climbed higher into the mountains, following old hiking trails that Jin-Ho barely remembered. Buell seemed to know exactly where to go, leading him through paths that provided perfect cover from their pursuers. Several times Jin-Ho was ready to give up from exhaustion, but Buell would look back at him with those intelligent golden eyes, encouraging him to keep going. As night fell, they finally stopped at a small cave hidden behind some rocks. Jin-Ho was breathing heavily, his clothes torn from pushing through thick bushes. But Buell looked completely fine, as if the difficult escape had been easy for her. That night, under the full moon, Jin-Ho watched as Buell's behavior became more erratic than ever before. She kept staring at the moon and making those musical sounds, again, but now they seemed more urgent, almost desperate. Her fur began to shimmer more brightly, and Jin-Ho could swear he saw strange patterns of light moving across her silver coat. The next morning, Jin-Ho woke up to his emergency radio crackling with urgent weather warnings. Scientists around the world were reporting a massive solar flare heading toward Earth. The radio announcer said it would be the strongest solar storm in decades, and people should expect disruptions to electronic devices and satellite communications. Jin-Ho looked around the cave for Buell but couldn't find her anywhere. Panic set in as he called her name, worried that she might have wandered off during the night. Then he heard soft whimpering sounds coming from deeper inside the cave. Following the sounds, Jin-Ho found Buell curled up in a corner, but something was terribly wrong. Her silver fur was glowing brighter than ever before, and she seemed to be in pain. Her whole body was shaking, and the light patterns on her fur were moving faster and more wildly than Jin-Ho had ever seen. "Buell, what's happening to you?" Jin-Ho whispered, reaching out to comfort her. But as soon as the solar flare hit Earth, everything changed. The cave filled with an incredible bright light that seemed to come from Buell herself. Jin-Ho had to cover his eyes as the light grew so intense it was almost blinding. He could hear strange sounds, like energy crackling through the air. When the light finally faded, Jin-Ho slowly opened his eyes. What he saw made him question his own sanity. Where Buell had been lying, there was now a young woman sitting in the same spot. She had long flowing hair that shimmered with the same silver color as Buell's fur. Her skin had a soft, pale glow, and most shocking of all, she had the exact same golden eyes that Jin-Ho had grown to know so well. The woman was wearing what looked like a form-fitting outfit, made of the same shimmering material as her hair. She looked confused and scared, touching her own face and hands as if she was surprised by her appearance. Jin-Ho's voice came out as barely a whisper. "Buell?" The woman looked at him and nodded slowly. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical, with an accent Jin-Ho had never heard before. "Yes, Jin-Ho, I was Buell, but my real name is Nari." Jin-Ho felt like his world was spinning. "How is this possible? What are you?" Nari struggled to find the right words in Korean, sometimes pausing as if she was translating thoughts from another language. "I come from a place very far from here, beyond the stars you can see at night. My people, we call ourselves the Harmony Collective. We live on many worlds across the galaxy, always in peace with each other." She looked down at her hands, and Jin-Ho could see sadness in those familiar golden eyes. But there are others in the galaxy who do not believe in peace. They call themselves the Dominion Empire. They travel from world to world, taking what they want and destroying anyone who stands in their way. Jin-Ho sat down heavily, trying to process what he was hearing. "Your world. What happened to it?" Nari's voice became quieter. "The Dominion came to our main world 3 months ago. They wanted our technology and our resources. When we refused to become their slaves, they attacked. Most of my people were killed or captured. Only a few of us escaped in small ships." Tears began to form in her golden eyes. "My ship was damaged while fleeing. I crashed into your ocean and was badly hurt. The trauma and injuries forced my body into its emergency form, the animal shape you found. I stayed that way because I was too weak and scared to change back." Jin-Ho reached out slowly and took her hand. It felt warm and real. Definitely not a dream. Why didn't you change back sooner? I tried many times, but I needed the right conditions. The solar energy from your sun, combined with the care and kindness you showed me, finally gave me enough strength to return to my true form. Nari stood up slowly, still getting used to being in her true form again. She walked to the cave entrance and looked up at the sky with a worried expression that Jin-Ho was beginning to recognize. Jin-Ho, there's something very important I need to tell you, she said, turning back to face him. I didn't crash on your planet by accident. I came here on purpose, but I was too late. Jin-Ho felt a chill run down his spine. Too late for what? Nari sat down beside him, her golden eyes filled with urgency. Before my world was destroyed, our scientists discovered the Dominion's next target. They're coming here, to Earth. They want something your planet has that's very rare in the galaxy. What could Earth possibly have that advanced aliens would want? Jin-Ho asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to hear the answer. Deep inside your planet's core are minerals that most worlds don't have, Nari explained. These minerals can power the most advanced spaceships and weapons in the galaxy. The Dominion has been searching for a planet like Earth for many years. Jin-Ho's mind raced. How long do we have? Nari looked down at her hands. When I left my world, they were already preparing their invasion fleet. That was 3 months. Dago. It takes time to travel between stars, even with their fast ships. I think Earth has maybe 6 months, possibly less. The weight of what she was saying hit Jin-Ho like a punch to the stomach. You came here to warn us, didn't you? Yes, Nari nodded. My people believe that every intelligent species has the right to defend their home. We couldn't save ourselves, but maybe we could save Earth. I volunteered to come ahead of their fleet to warn your leaders. Jin-Ho thought about the soldiers who had been chasing them. Is that why the military was looking for you? Do they already know? Nari shook her head. They detected the energy signals from my damaged ship, but they don't understand what they mean. They think I might be a threat, not someone trying to help. That's why I was hiding in animal form. I was too weak to explain, and I wasn't sure humans would believe me anyway. But your ship, Jin-Ho said, if it crashed in the ocean, couldn't you use it to contact your people or Earth's governments? The ship was destroyed when I crashed, Nari replied sadly. I barely escaped before it sank to the bottom of your ocean. All the communication equipment was lost. The only thing I managed to save was the information in my memory about the Dominion's plans. Jin-Ho felt overwhelmed by the enormity of the situation. So you're telling me that Earth is about to be invaded by a powerful alien empire, and the only proof we have is your word? Nari nodded. I know how it sounds. That's why I needed to recover my true form first. In this shape, I can at least demonstrate some of my abilities to prove I'm not from Earth. But even then, will your leaders believe the danger is real? She stood up and walked to a small puddle of water that had collected in the cave. As Jin-Ho watched in amazement, she placed her hand just above the water's surface. The water began to glow with the same soft light as her skin, and it slowly rose up to form a perfect sphere floating in the air. I can show them things that Earth technology cannot do, she said, letting the water gently fall back into the puddle. But the real question is whether humanity will be willing to listen and prepare for what's coming. Jin-Ho stared at the spot where the water had been floating. What do they want from Earth besides the minerals? Nari's expression grew darker. The Dominion doesn't just take resources. They enslave the populations of the worlds they conquer. Humans would become workers in their mines and factories. Those who resist are eliminated. The cave fell silent except for the sound of wind blowing outside. Jin-Ho realized that his simple life as a marine researcher was over forever. Jin-Ho spent the rest of that day thinking about everything Nari had told him. The idea that Earth was facing an alien invasion seemed impossible, but he had seen Nari transform with his own eyes. He knew she was telling the truth. We need to contact the right people, Jin-Ho said as they sat around a small fire that evening. But Colonel Park and his soldiers are still looking for us. And you said there might be alien hunters too. Nari nodded grimly. The Dominion sends advanced scouts before their main invasion. They're probably already on Earth looking for survivors like me. They'll want to eliminate any witnesses who might warn your people. Jin-Ho pulled out his phone, then put it away again. I can't use this. They'll track us immediately. I have an idea, Nari said. Watch this. Right before Jinho's eyes, Nari's appearance began to change. Her silver hair turned black, her glowing skin became normal, and even her height shifted slightly. Within minutes, she looked like a completely ordinary Korean woman. Only her golden eyes remained the same. "How did you do that?" Jinho asked in amazement. "My people can adjust our physical appearance when needed," Nari explained. "It's how we adapted to live on different worlds. I can look human enough to blend in, as long as no one looks too closely at my eyes." They spent the next 2 days carefully making their way down from the mountains. Nari's ability to sense danger kept them away from military patrols, while Jinho's knowledge of the local area helped them find safe places to rest and hide. Their first real test came when they reached a small town. Jinho knew they needed to contact someone in the government, but he wasn't sure who would believe their story. Then he remembered his old professor from university, Dr. Lee, who now worked as an advisor to the Ministry of Science. Using a public phone at a bus station, Jinho called his former teacher. "Professor Lee, this is Jinho. I need to meet with you urgently. It's about a matter of national security." "Jinho? The military has been asking about you. They say you've stolen some kind of dangerous specimen," Dr. Lee said, sounding worried. "That's exactly what I need to talk to you about. Can you meet me tonight at the old observatory where we used to do research? Come alone, and please don't tell anyone." There was a long pause. "This sounds very serious. Are you in trouble?" "The whole world is in trouble, Professor. Please, just trust me." That night, Jinho and Nari waited nervously at the abandoned observatory. When Dr. Lee arrived, he looked shocked to see Jinho with a woman he didn't recognize. "Professor, what I'm about to show you will seem impossible," Jinho began. "But I need you to keep an open mind." Nari stepped forward and allowed her appearance to shift back to her true form. Dr. Lee stumbled backward, his eyes wide with shock as he watched her silver hair shimmer and her skin begin to glow softly. "This is Nari," Jinho said. "She's not from Earth, and she's here to warn us about an invasion that's coming." For the next hour, Nari demonstrated her abilities and explained the threat facing Earth. She made objects float in the air, predicted exactly when satellites would pass overhead, and showed Dr. Lee star charts that contained information about distant galaxies that Earth's telescopes had never seen. Dr. Lee sat in stunned silence for several minutes after Nari finished speaking. Finally, he looked up at Jinho. "If this is true, then we need to contact the highest levels of government immediately. But carefully," Jinho warned. "There are people hunting us, both human and alien. We can't trust everyone." Dr. Lee nodded. "Slowly. I have contacts in several different ministries. We can approach them one at a time, build a network of people who believe the truth, but we'll need proof beyond just Nari's abilities." "What kind of proof?" Nari asked. "Evidence of these alien scouts you mentioned. If they're already here, maybe we can find them." Over the next few weeks, Dr. Lee carefully contacted trusted colleagues in different government departments. Each meeting was arranged in secret, with Nari demonstrating her abilities to prove she was truly from another world. Slowly, a small group of believers began to form. The breakthrough came when Nari managed to detect one of the Dominion scouts. Using her enhanced senses, she led a team to a remote facility where they found advanced surveillance equipment that was definitely not made on Earth. This physical evidence finally convinced the skeptical government officials that the threat was real. Jinho found himself in the middle of the most important meetings of his life. World leaders from different countries were brought together in secret locations, all wanting to hear Nari's warnings about the coming invasion. At first, many of them argued and disagreed about what to do. "We should surrender immediately," one official suggested. "If they're so much more advanced than us, fighting back will only make things worse." "Absolutely not," another leader replied firmly. "Humans don't give up without a fight. We've never backed down from bullies before, and we won't start now." Jinho watched as Nari listened to these debates with growing amazement. She later told him that most species the Dominion had conquered had simply given up when faced with superior technology. "Your people are different," she said to Jinho privately. "Most civilizations choose the easy path of surrender. But humans seem to get more determined when the odds are against them." The real work began when Nari started sharing her knowledge of Dominion technology. She couldn't build their advanced weapons without proper materials and equipment, but she could explain how their systems worked. Earth's best scientists and engineers gathered to study her information. The Dominion's ships are powerful, but they have weaknesses, Nari explained to a room full of military experts. They rely too heavily on computer systems. They expect their enemies to fight in predictable ways. Jinho found himself translating not just Nari's words, but also helping Earth's leaders understand concepts that were completely foreign to them. He spent days explaining alien technology principles to human scientists and human military tactics to Nari. The most exciting discovery came when human engineers started combining Nari's knowledge with Earth's existing technology. Instead of trying to copy alien weapons exactly, they created hybrid devices that worked in ways the Dominion would never expect. Look at this. Dr. Kim, one of the lead engineers, showed Jinho a device that looked like a normal radio. Nari taught us how to detect their ship's energy signatures, but we built it using parts from regular Earth electronics. It's crude compared to their technology, but it works, and they won't recognize it as a threat. Similar innovations were happening all around the world. Human creativity was finding ways to use Nari's advanced knowledge in unexpected combinations. Farmers were learning to hide anti-aircraft weapons in their fields. Factory workers were building components for secret defensive systems. Even children were being taught simple tricks to confuse alien scanners. Nari was amazed by humanity's approach to the problem. The Dominion expects conquered species to either surrender or fight with predictable military tactics, she told Jinho. They've never faced an entire planet where every person becomes part of the resistance effort. The most important moment came when Nari managed to contact other survivors from her people who were hiding on different worlds. Using modified Earth satellites, she sent coded messages across space. The responses were encouraging. Several other species that had been conquered by the Dominion were secretly watching Earth's preparations. If Earth can successfully resist the Dominion, it might inspire other worlds to fight back too, Nari explained to the assembled world leaders. This battle isn't just about saving Earth. It's about showing the galaxy that the Dominion can be defeated. Jinho realized that his planet had become the center of something much bigger than he had imagined. Earth wasn't just preparing to defend itself. It was preparing to lead a galactic revolution against tyranny. The invasion began on a Tuesday morning when massive shadows appeared in the sky over major cities around the world. Jinho was in the underground command center in Seoul when the first reports came in. Through the windows of tall buildings, people could see enormous black ships hanging in the air like dark clouds. Nari was standing next to Jinho, watching the screens that showed the alien fleet. Her face was pale, but her golden eyes were filled with determination rather than fear. "There are more ships than I expected," she said quietly. "The Dominion must have gathered forces from multiple conquered worlds for this attack." A booming voice suddenly echoed across every city on Earth, speaking in perfect Korean, English, Chinese, and dozens of other languages simultaneously. "People of Earth, I am Commander Vex of the Dominion Empire. Your planet has been selected for integration into our empire. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Resistance will result in the destruction of your cities." Jinho looked around the command center at the faces of Earth's leaders and military commanders. Instead of panic, he saw something that made him proud to be human. There was anger in their eyes and a stubborn refusal to give up without a fight. "Send our response," the Korean president said firmly. Dr. Lee activated the global communication system that had been prepared for this moment. His voice was broadcast to every radio and television on Earth, and also transmitted directly to the alien ships above. "Commander Vex, this is Earth. We have heard your demands, and our answer is simple. No, humans don't surrender to bullies. If you want our planet, you'll have to fight for every inch of it." What happened next surprised the Dominion forces completely. Instead of mass panic and quick surrender, Earth's response was immediate and coordinated. Every major city had been secretly prepared for this moment. Hidden weapons emerged from buildings, parks, and even subway stations. Ordinary citizens who had been trained in secret began executing plans they had practiced for months. The alien ships fired their first weapons at military targets, expecting to crush Earth's defenses quickly. But the weapons they hit were decoys. The real defensive systems were hidden in places the aliens never thought to look, inside schools, hospitals, and shopping centers. Nari watched the battle unfold with amazement. "They're confused," she told Jinho. "The Dominion has conquered dozens of worlds, but they've never faced anything like this. Most species either give up immediately or fight with traditional military formations that are easy to defeat. The real turning point came when Nari volunteered for the most dangerous part of Earth's plan. Using her shape-shifting abilities, she would sneak onto one of the smaller Dominion ships to disable their communication systems. "It's too risky," Jinho protested. "If they catch you, they'll kill you." "If I don't try, they'll kill everyone on Earth," Nari replied. She placed her hand on Jinho's shoulder. "Besides, I have advantages they don't expect. I know their technology, but I also learned something from humans that my people never taught me." "What's that?" Nari smiled. "How to be unpredictable." That night, Nari transformed herself to look like one of the Dominion soldiers and infiltrated their ship. What she found inside shocked her. The alien crew was panicking because Earth's resistance was unlike anything in their experience. They had expected to be fighting armies, not an entire planet where every person was a potential threat. Using her knowledge of their systems, Nari managed to plant devices that would disrupt their communications at crucial moments. But more importantly, she overheard conversations that revealed the Dominion's biggest weakness. They were so used to easy victories that they had no backup plans for real resistance. Their entire strategy depended on quick surrender, followed by occupation. The longer Earth held out, the more confused and demoralized the invaders became. When Nari returned to the command center, she brought news that changed everything. "Their fleet commander is requesting reinforcements," she told the assembled leaders. "Earth's resistance is lasting much longer than they planned, and they're starting to worry that other conquered worlds might see this and get ideas about fighting back." The final battle began when Nari discovered the location of the Dominion's main command ship. It was hidden behind the moon, controlling all the other vessels in the fleet. Jinho knew that if they could disable that ship, the entire invasion would collapse. "Their command ship has a weakness," Nari explained to the Emergency Council. "All Dominion fleets are controlled by a single central computer. If we can get inside and turn their own weapons against them, we can end this war in one strike." The Fae plan was incredibly dangerous. Jinho and Nari would have to somehow reach the command ship, which was protected by dozens of smaller vessels. Even if they made it inside, they would be facing the most advanced alien technology in the galaxy. "I'm going with you," Jinho said firmly when Nari started to protest. "Jinho, this isn't your fight. You're not a soldier." "Yes, it is my fight," Jinho replied. "This is my planet, my home. And besides, you're going to need someone who understands human thinking to make this work." The assault began at dawn. Earth's forces launched coordinated attacks on Dominion ships around the world, drawing their attention away from the moon. Meanwhile, Jinho and Nari used a modified space shuttle to slip past the alien defenses. Getting inside the command ship was easier than expected, because Nari could perfectly mimic the appearance of a Dominion officer. But once they were inside, the real challenge began. The ship's central computer was protected by security systems that Nari had never seen before. "They've upgraded their defenses since my world was conquered," she whispered to Jinho as they hid in a maintenance corridor. "I don't know how to get past these new barriers." That's when Jinho had an idea that would never have occurred to someone from a more advanced civilization. "What if we don't try to hack their computer? What if—" "We just break it," Nari stared at him. "Break it? But that would destroy the entire ship." "Exactly. And if this ship goes down, all the others lose their coordination. Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one." Working together, they managed to reach the ship's power core. Nari used her knowledge of alien technology to access the core's control systems, while Jinho did something that shocked her. Instead of trying to reprogram the system, he simply started disconnecting cables and removing components. "What are you doing?" Nari asked in panic. "Something no advanced civilization would ever think of," Jinho replied. "I'm making it so broken that it can't hurt anyone." The power core began to overload exactly as Jinho had planned, but instead of exploding randomly, Nari was able to direct the energy surge through the ship's weapon systems. The command ship's powerful weapons turned on the other Dominion vessels, destroying most of the fleet in a matter of minutes. As they escaped in their shuttle, Jinho and Nari watched the remaining alien ships flee into deep space. The invasion was over, and Earth had won. The victory celebration lasted for days, but the real impact was felt across the galaxy. Nari's contacts on other worlds reported that the news of Earth's successful resistance was spreading like wildfire. For the first time in decades, conquered species were beginning to hope that freedom was possible. The Dominion's power was based on fear, Nari explained to Jinho as they watched the celebrations from the balcony of the rebuilt research station. Once people realized they could be defeated, their empire started to crumble. Jinho put his arm around Nari's shoulders. So what happens now? Do you go back to help liberate other worlds? Nari smiled and looked up at the stars. My home is here now, with you. Earth is going to need someone who understands the galaxy, and the galaxy is going to need to understand Earth. I think we have a lot of work ahead of us. As they watched the sunset over Jeju Island, Jinho realized that finding a small injured animal on the beach had led to the most important moment in human history. Earth was no longer alone in the universe, and humanity had proven that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.